The forest was quiet that night, too quiet. The moonlight touched the tall trees and cast long shadows on the ground. A cold wind moved between the branches, carrying the smell of wet earth. Two friends, David and Sarah, walked along the old trail, laughing softly at their own stories. They thought it was just another peaceful night under the stars, but the sky was already watching them. A sudden flicker of light appeared above the treetops. It was quick, like a flash of lightning. But there were no clouds, no thunder. Sarah stopped walking and looked up. "Did you see that?" she asked. David shrugged, trying to sound calm. Probably an airplane. But deep inside, his heart was not calm at all. Then came the hum, low and deep. A sound that seemed to shake the air itself. The birds that had been singing seconds ago went silent. The forest was dead still, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The two friends stood frozen, looking up at the dark sky. Another flash, this time stronger, and the shadows of the trees stretched unnaturally long. David grabbed Sarah's arm. "We should go back," he whispered. But before they could turn, the ground under them glowed faint blue. A circle of light surrounded them, rising upward. Like a wall, their bodies grew heavy. Their feet could not move. Sarah screamed, but no sound came out. The hum became louder, like thousands of voices speaking at once in a language not of earth. The sky split open, revealing a massive dark shape. Not an airplane, not a helicopter, something far older and far stranger. It was a ship, silent, watching, waiting. Of silver light poured down from its belly, covering the two humans in its glow. David tried to fight, his muscles straining, but his body betrayed him. Sarah's eyes were wide with terror, tears floating upward as gravity itself bent around them. The world blurred and the forest faded away. The smell of earth, the sound of wind, even the feeling of the ground beneath their feet, all gone. They were rising higher and higher, pulled into the ship like insects caught in a web. The last thing they saw was the moon, small and distant as the darkness swallowed them. Inside the ship, the air was cold and sharp. The humans collapsed onto a metallic floor that seemed alive, pulsing with faint light. Walls curved around them like the inside of a giant ribcage. Strange symbols glowed along the surface, shifting and moving like liquid fire. David gasped for air, his breath white in the freezing atmosphere. Sarah clutched his hand, her voice shaking. "Where are we?" No answer came, only the sound of footsteps, slow and heavy. Figures stepped out of the shadows, tall, thin, their skin pale as ash. Their eyes glowed faint green, not like reflections, but like lanterns burning inside their skulls. One of them tilted its head, studying the humans as if they were animals in a cage. Its mouth did not move, yet a voice entered David's mind. "Subject secured." Sarah screamed and backed away, but there was nowhere to go. The walls of the chamber shifted, closing tighter. David forced himself to stand, his fists clenched. "What do you want from us?" he shouted. The alien closest to him turned its glowing eyes toward Sarah, then back to David. The voice returned, cold and empty. "You are necessary for survival." The words froze both humans in place. What did that mean? Survival of who? Survival from what? The figures moved closer, surrounding them in silence. The hum returned, vibrating through the walls and into their bones. David and Sarah could not tell if they were awake or trapped in a nightmare, but deep inside, they knew one truth: whatever these beings wanted, it was far worse than death. And so the ship carried them higher into the endless void. The earth grew smaller and smaller below. No one on the planet saw them leave. No one knew they were gone. The forest was quiet again, too quiet. The night swallowed the truth, but the stars had already witnessed the abduction, and the real terror was only just beginning. David and Sarah lay on the metallic floor, their breaths coming fast and shallow. The chamber around them shifted again, glowing with blue veins of light. It was alive, or at least it felt alive, pulsing like a giant heart. Before either of them could speak, the walls split apart, opening into a massive hall. The air smelled of metal and ash, cold and heavy. A deep voice echoed inside their heads. "Bring them before the council." Two tall figures pulled the humans to their feet. Their touch was icy, their skin smooth like polished stone. The aliens pushed them forward, guiding them through a corridor that seemed endless. Symbols flowed across the walls like rivers of fire. Every step echoed, making David's chest tighten with fear. Sarah tried to whisper, but the sound caught in her throat. She only squeezed David's hand tighter, as if to say, "Don't let go." At the end of the corridor, a vast chamber opened, the ceiling arched high, glowing with stars that didn't belong to Earth. Strange pillars stood in circles, each humming with power on raised platforms. A group of alien figures sat, their glowing eyes fixed on the two humans. They were older, taller, their skin cracked like ancient stone. This was no ordinary meeting, this was judgment. A voice filled the air, neither male nor female, but heavy like thunder. "Humans, you stand before the Council of Arkan," it said. Sarah's knees weakened. She almost fell. David held her arm, his eyes burning with anger. "What do you want from us?" he demanded, his voice breaking the silence. The aliens did not move, yet the voice replied instantly. "We want survival." The chamber darkened, and in the air appeared shimmering visions. Images of a dying world, once green and full of life, now covered in dust and fire. The seas had dried, mountains cracked, cities abandoned, figures of alien children fading into nothing. The voice grew heavier. "Our species is ending. Our seed is weak. Our wombs are barren." The images shifted, showing human faces taken from Earth, old records and memories. "Humans, your kind is strong, adaptable, fertile. The last chance for our bloodline," Sarah gasped, covering her mouth. David felt his stomach twist, the truth crashing into him. They weren't saved. They weren't chosen. They were stolen to be used. Another alien counselor leaned forward, its green eyes burning like fire. "You will give us life, or your lives will end here." The words were simple, but the weight of them was crushing. Sarah shook her head violently. No, you can't do this," she cried. Her voice echoed, but the council did not blink. David stepped forward, his fists clenched. "We are not your animals," he shouted. The silence after his words was sharp, painful. Finally, the thunderous voice spoke again. "You will understand in time." A flicker of movement caught David's eye. Among the shadows of the chamber, a smaller alien stood apart. Her eyes were softer, glowing faint blue instead of green. She watched the humans with something different, something like pity. But before David could focus, the guards shoved him down. The council raised their arms, and the chamber filled with humming energy. The symbols on the pillars spun faster, glowing brighter. A beam of light surrounded Sarah, lifting her from the ground. She screamed, twisting, trying to fight. David roared, throwing himself forward. But the guards held him down. The voice thundered again. "She will be prepared first. He will follow." David's heart nearly stopped, fear turning into pure rage. Suddenly the vision changed. The pillars projected new images, failed experiments, broken bodies, lifeless humans from the past. David's eyes widened in horror, realizing this was not the first time. The aliens had tried before, many times, and failed. Sarah cried out, "David, help me." Her voice cracked, echoing like glass shattering. The blue-eyed alien stepped forward then, breaking silence. "Council, wait." Her voice entered their minds, softer, pleading. She looked at Sarah, then at David. "If we force them, they will break, just as before." The council stirred, murmurs echoing like wind through stone. The thunderous voice asked, "Then what do you suggest, child?" The young alien bowed her head. "Let me guide them. Let me show them our suffering. They must choose, not be chained." The chamber went silent. David and Sarah looked at her, not sure if she was a savior or another trap. The council finally answered, "You may try, but failure will mean all of your deaths." The blue-eyed alien nodded slowly. Her eyes flickered with something dangerous, something secret, and for the first time, a spark of hope lit inside the humans' hearts. But hope in this place was a fragile thing. The council still watched, still judged. The humans were still prisoners, still tools in their eyes. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows, the real plan of the aliens was far darker than they had admitted. David and Sarah didn't know it yet, but the true test was only beginning. David sat in the corner of the cold chamber, his fists shaking with helpless rage. Sarah lay near him, her body trembling after the council's trial, her eyes filled with fear. The guards had locked them inside a cell, walls alive with strange blue light. Every time David tried to touch the walls, a wave of energy shocked him back. Escape seemed impossible. But the fire in his chest refused to die. Sarah whispered, her voice breaking. "David, what if they really use us?" David clenched his jaw. "Then we fight. We don't give them what they want." But his heart was heavy, the council's words still echoing. Humans were tools in their eyes, nothing more than animals in a cage. The silence of the chamber pressed down like a weight. Only the faint hum of alien machines filled the air. Time passed slowly, though neither of them could tell if it was hours or days. Food appeared from a hatch in the wall, strange glowing cubes that tasted like ash. They ate only to survive, not to live. Sleep came in broken pieces, haunted by visions of alien eyes and lifeless human bodies. Each night, David told himself, there must be a way out. One night, the cell wall flickered for a moment. It was small, like a heartbeat skipping, but David saw it. He stood quickly, pressing his hand against the glowing lines. The energy buzzed, but weaker this time. He leaned close to Sarah and whispered, "There's a weakness here, I know it." Sarah's eyes lit with a tiny flame of hope. Together, they pressed, studying the patterns of the glowing symbols. They realized the walls shifted every few hours, a cycle, like breathing. For a short moment, the energy weakened, almost opening. But before they could test further, the sound of footsteps filled the corridor. The door split open, and two guards entered. Their tall bodies bent low to fit inside the chamber, their eyes glowing green. One motion for David and Sarah to stand. "The council calls again." Sarah clung to David's arm, refusing to move. The guard reached out to drag her, and David stepped between them. "Don't touch her," he growled, his voice sharp. The alien tilted its head, amused, then struck David across the chest. David slammed into the wall. Coughing hard, Sarah screamed his name, but the guards pulled her forward. David struggled to rise, rage burning in his veins. He could not save her now, but he swore he would. The guards dragged both humans through the long corridor. This time, instead of the council chamber, they were taken to another place. A laboratory filled with glowing pods and strange machines. Inside the pods, shapes floated, human shapes. Broken and lifeless, Sarah gasped, covering her mouth, tears running down her face. David felt his blood run cold. "They've done this before," he whispered. A figure stepped out of the shadows. It was the blue-eyed alien who had spoken for them before. Her eyes glowed faintly. Softer than the others, she looked at the humans with something almost like sorrow. "You must be careful." Her voice entered their minds. "The council does not forgive failure." David narrowed his eyes. "Why are you helping us?" The alien lowered her head. "Because your strength may be the only hope left, not just for us, but for you too." She moved closer, her voice urgent. "There is a passage in the lower levels, hidden from the council. If you find it, you can escape." Sarah's eyes widened. "You're telling us to run," the alien nodded. "If you stay, you will not survive. The council sees you as tools, nothing more." Before David could ask more, the guards returned, pulling them away. But his mind was already racing. An escape route, a chance, maybe their only one. As they were dragged back to the cell, David whispered in Sarah's ear, "We're getting out tonight." Back inside the chamber, the walls pulsed with their usual rhythm. David counted carefully, timing the weakness he had noticed before. Sarah stood close, watching nervously, her heart pounding. Finally, the moment came. The symbols dimmed for just a second. David slammed his fist against the spot. The wall rippled like water. Energy sparks cut his skin, but he pushed harder. The surface gave way, a hidden passage opening just wide enough for them to crawl. Sarah gasped, "It's working." Without wasting time, they slipped into the dark passage. The walls here were rougher, less alive, like abandoned tunnels. They crawled forward, their breaths loud in the silence. Behind them, the wall sealed shut again, hiding their escape. The tunnel stretched long and narrow. Strange whispers echoed through the darkness, as if the ship itself was alive. At one point, they heard footsteps above. Heavy and slow, they froze. Holding their breaths until the sound passed, Sarah whispered, "If they catch us, we're dead." David shook his head. "Then we don't get caught." After what felt like hours, they reached a metal grate. Through it, they saw a vast hangar filled with ships. Alien machines floated in the air, their engines humming softly. Guards patrolled the area, but the path was there, the way out. Sarah's eyes filled with tears of hope. "David, we can do it." David looked at her, his jaw set. "We have to, for both of us." But as they prepared to move, a shadow rose behind them. A figure stood in the tunnel, eyes glowing green. They had been followed. The escape was no longer simple. It was a fight for survival, and the struggle for freedom had only just begun. The green eyes glowed brighter in the narrow tunnel. David froze, pulling Sarah behind him. The alien guard hissed, its tall frame blocking the only way back. It raised a long weapon, humming with deadly light. David's heart pounded, but he clenched his fists anyway, ready to fight with bare hands if needed. Before the guard could strike, another shadow moved. The blue-eyed alien appeared silently, her thin hands raised. She pressed a device against the wall, and the weapon of the guard flickered. Dying in sparks, the green-eyed alien staggered, confused, but before it could recover, the blue-eyed alien drove a sharp rod into its chest. The creature fell with a thud, its eyes fading to darkness. Sarah gasped, covering her mouth in shock. David stared, stunned at the sudden violence. The blue-eyed alien's face showed no regret, only urgency. "Move," she said sharply in their minds. "Time is running out." David grabbed Sarah's hand, and together they followed her deeper into the passage. The tunnel opened into a hidden chamber. Strange machines stood around them, glowing with red symbols. The air here was heavier, filled with a hum that vibrated in their bones. Sarah shivered, whispering, "What is this place?" The blue-eyed alien turned slowly, her eyes dim with sorrow. "This is the Forbidden's archive," she said. David frowned. "Forbidden by who?" The alien's voice trembled slightly. "By the Council. No one is allowed to enter here, not even the young. What you will see now is truth that has been buried for centuries." She touched the nearest machine, and the chamber lit up with shifting visions. Images filled the air, tall alien cities rising under blue skies, children playing, rivers flowing with silver light. It was a world once beautiful, alive, filled with joy. Sarah whispered, "Your planet was paradise." The visions changed, showing fire across the land. Great storms tore cities apart, seas boiled, forests burned. The people screamed, but their leaders only watched, the blue-eyed aliens. Voice grew colder. It was greed, hunger for power, endless wars between our own kind. "We destroyed our planet ourselves." David clenched his fists. "And now you want humans to fix your mistake." The vision shifted again, showing something even darker. Strange ships traveling through stars, abducting humans from Earth long ago. Men, women, children, all stolen in the night. Some screamed, some begged, but none returned. Machines surrounded them. Cages, experiments. One by one, the humans collapsed, their bodies too weak for the alien purpose. Sarah's face went pale. "Oh my God, they tried before." David's stomach twisted as he saw broken human bodies floating in glass pods. The truth was clear now. They were not the first, and every attempt had ended in failure. The blue-eyed alien lowered her head. The council lies, they call. You saviors, but to them, you are cattle, nothing more. Sarah shook with anger, her voice breaking. How many have died? How many of us? The alien whispered. Hundreds, maybe more. The records are incomplete. The council erased much. But I searched, I remembered, and now, you know. David stepped closer, his eyes burning with rage. Then why help us if your own kind hides this truth? The alien met his gaze, her faint blue glow trembling. Because my people are lost, and perhaps only you can remind them what it means to live with honor, not desperation. David turned to Sarah, whispering, We can't let this continue. Not to us, not to anyone. Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. But how? We're just two humans. Before David could answer, alarms echoed through the tunnels, sharp and piercing. The walls shook with the sound of running guards. The blue-eyed alien's expression hardened. The council knows they will come for us. She rushed to a control panel, pressing glowing symbols quickly. A hidden door opened, leading deeper into the darkness. Go, she ordered. There is more you must see. The core of the truth lies below. David hesitated. What about you? She shook her head. I will follow, but if I fall, you must keep moving. Promise me. David and Sarah slipped into the passage, the door sealing. Behind them, they descended deeper into the ship. The air colder, heavier, strange whispers filled their minds. Voices of the past, of the dead. Finally, they entered another chamber, and their breaths froze in their chests. Rows upon rows of glass pods stretched across the room. Inside each pod floated a human body, pale and lifeless. Some were old, some young, some children. David staggered back, his chest heaving. Sarah sobbed, pressing her hand against the glass of one pod. They never stopped. The chamber glowed with sickly green light. Machines hissed, recording data, feeding numbers into endless streams. David's voice shook with fury. This is their legacy. This is the truth they hide. Sarah grabbed his hand tightly, whispering, We can't let them use us. We can't let them keep doing this. David nodded, his eyes cold and sharp. We'll fight, even if it kills us. And as the chamber doors opened, heavy footsteps approaching, the council's guards closing in. The two humans stood tall among the dead, no longer victims, no longer tools. For the first time, their struggle was not just for freedom, it was for revenge, and for the forbidden truth to be known. The footsteps grew louder, echoing against the chamber of glass pods. David pulled Sarah behind one of the machines, his heart racing. The sight of hundreds of lifeless humans still burned in their minds. Sarah's hands trembled as she whispered, We can't fight them all. David clenched his jaw. Then we hide and wait for a chance. The doors slid open, and 3 guards entered, their green eyes glowing in the dim light. They scanned the room slowly, their weapons humming. One of them walked dangerously close to where David and Sarah crouched. Sarah held her breath, praying they would not be seen. But just as the alien turned its head, a sharp sound echoed from the far side of the chamber. The guards twisted quickly. Moving toward the noise, out of the shadows stepped the blue-eyed alien. Her face calm but her eyes burning. You search in the wrong place. Her voice entered their minds. The guards lowered their weapons. Confused, one of them hissed, Why are you here? This chamber is forbidden even for you. The blue-eyed alien tilted her head. The council sent me to secure it. Do you question their will? The guards hesitated. And in that moment, David understood. She was lying for them, covering their tracks. Sarah squeezed his hand, relief mixing with fear. The guards bowed slightly and left the chamber. The doors closed, and the blue-eyed alien turned to the humans. Her face tight with urgency. You are running out of time, she said. David stepped forward, his voice hard. You've shown us the truth. Now tell us, why are you really helping? For a long moment, she said nothing, her eyes dimming. Then she whispered, "Because not all of us agree with the council. Some of us believe survival cannot be built on chains and blood." She looked around the chamber, her expression heavy. "I am not alone. There are others, hidden in the shadows, waiting for change." Sarah's eyes widened. "There are rebels." "Among your people," the alien nodded slowly. "Yes, but we are few, weak compared to the council. If we rise alone, we will be destroyed." David's voice sharpened. "Then you need us." The alien's gaze met his. "Yes, we need each other." She motioned for them to follow, leading them into another hidden passage behind the machines. The air grew warmer as they descended, the hum of machinery fading into silence. At last, they entered a dim cavern-like space, far from the council's eyes. Dozens of aliens stood there, their eyes glowing faint blue instead of green. They turned to the humans, their faces unreadable. Sarah gripped David's hand tightly, whispering, "Are these the rebels?" The blue-eyed alien stepped forward, her voice echoing in their minds. "These are the ones who refuse to obey, the alliance in shadows." One of the rebels, taller and older, stepped closer, his cracked skin glowing faintly. His voice was deep but calm. "So these are the humans the council speaks of." David stood tall, his voice steady. "Yes, and we are not here to be your tools." The older rebel studied him carefully, then nodded. "Good. We do not seek to chain you, but to fight with you." The chamber filled with murmurs, some aliens nodding, others doubtful. Sarah asked softly, "But why risk everything for us?" The older rebel's face darkened. "Because if the council succeeds, they will not stop with humans. Their hunger for control will spread across the stars." David looked around, realizing the scale of what they faced. It was not just about escape anymore. It was war. The rebels led them deeper, showing hidden stockpiles of stolen weapons and strange machines. David picked up one of the weapons, its grip cold but powerful in his hand. Sarah touched one of the machines, its energy buzzing under her fingers. The rebels had been preparing for years, waiting for a spark. The blue-eyed alien spoke again. "But know this, joining us means death for many. The council will show no mercy." David's voice was firm. "If we run, they will hunt us. If we fight, at least we have a chance." Sarah's eyes filled with fear, but she nodded slowly. "We can't go back. We have to fight." The rebels bowed their heads, their faint blue light glowing brighter. For the first time, humans and aliens stood side by side, united in purpose. But shadows still lingered in the chamber, whispers of doubt and fear. Some rebels muttered quietly, "What if they fail? What if they are not strong enough?" The older rebel silenced them. "Then we all fall. But better to fall free than to live chained." The chamber shook suddenly, a deep rumble rolling through the walls. The council had sensed something, their power stretching even here. The blue-eyed alien turned quickly, her eyes sharp. "They are searching. They know something is wrong." David tightened his grip on the weapon, his heart steady now. "We're ready," he said. Sarah stood beside him, her fear hardened into fire. The rebels raised their weapons too, their glowing eyes burning in the dark and in that hidden place. The first alliance between humans and aliens was forged. It was fragile, built in shadows, but it was real. For the first time, David and Sarah were not alone, and as the walls trembled with the council's power, they knew the war for freedom had truly begun. The hidden chamber shook violently, dust falling from the ceiling. The rebels lifted their weapons, their glowing blue eyes narrowing. David and Sarah exchanged a quick glance. Fear and determination mixed together. The council had felt their movement. Their secrecy was breaking. The war was coming faster than they had planned. The older rebel raised his hand. "It is time." His deep voice filled the cavern. He looked at David and Sarah. "You came to us as prisoners. Now you fight as brothers and sisters." Sarah's heart pounded, her hands trembling around the strange weapon she held. David stood firm, his jaw tight. "Then let's end this." The rebels opened a massive gate hidden behind the walls. Beyond it was a hangar filled with stolen ships, engines glowing faintly. Some were small fighters, some larger carriers, each armed and ready. The blue-eyed alien turned to the humans. "The Council rules from above, but their core is weak. Strike there and the whole tower falls." Her words were calm, but her eyes burned with urgency. David climbed into one of the smaller crafts, the controls strange, yet strangely familiar. Sarah slid into the seat beside him, gripping the harness tightly. The ship hummed to life. Lights flickering as if recognizing their new pilots. Rebel fighters began to rise, filling the hangar with thunder. The gate opened wider, revealing the endless black sky of space. Then the alarm screamed, red lights flashing through the tunnels. The Council's ships were already moving, massive and armed with deadly beams. The rebels launched forward, their fighters darting into the void. David's hands shook on the controls, but he forced himself to focus. Sarah whispered, "We can do this, we have to." The first blast came like lightning, tearing across the hangar mouth. A rebel fighter exploded in a burst of fire, its fragments scattering into the stars. Sarah gasped, covering her mouth. But David pushed the ship harder. "Hold on," he growled, pulling the controls to dodge the next blast. Their small craft spun, slipping under the shadow of a larger ship, the Space. Above, the alien world lit up with fire. Beams of green energy cut across the dark, striking rebel ships. Explosions rippled, shaking the skies with thunder, but the rebels fought back, their smaller ships weaving through the Council's heavy giants. Every blast was a scream of defiance, every fireball a price for freedom. David aimed the strange weapon controls, firing for the first time. A beam of pure blue light shot from their craft, striking the Council fighter. The enemy ship cracked open, flames spilling out as it broke apart. Sarah cheered, gripping his arm. "You did it." David's face stayed hard. "One down, more to go." The blue-eyed alien's voice echoed through their minds. "Stay close to me. The Council will send their strongest soon." Her own fighter darted through the chaos. Glowing brighter than the rest, David followed. Weaving through the burning wreckage, the battle spread wide. Ships exploding like stars being born and dying. The Council's flagship appeared at last, massive and terrifying. Its body was black as stone. Covered in glowing green veins, it moved slowly but with power. Like a mountain drifting through the sky, dozens of cannons opened across its surface, aiming at the rebels. Sarah whispered in terror, "How do we fight that?" The blue-eyed alien's voice answered, steady and calm. "Together." The rebels swarmed the flagship, firing beams against its shields. But the green light held strong, reflecting most of the attacks. One by one, rebel ships were torn apart by its weapons. David's chest burned with rage. "We can't break it like this." The blue-eyed alien replied, "The core is hidden inside. You must strike at the heart." She sent coordinates directly into David's mind. A weak point buried beneath the surface of the ship. David tightened his grip. "Sarah, hold on." Their craft dove low, slipping under the belly of the flagship. Enemy fighters chased them, beams scorching past their wings. David twisted hard, spinning through the fire. Sarah fired back, her hands on the secondary controls. One enemy fighter exploded, then another. Her eyes widened. "I hit them," she gasped. David allowed himself a brief smile. "Good, keep going." They reached the weak point at last. A massive glowing core pulsed beneath the ship's armored plates. It beat like a heart, sickly green and alive. Sarah stared in horror. "It looks alive," David growled. "Then let's kill it." He aimed the weapon controls, the ship humming louder. The blue beam gathered at the front. Glowing brighter and brighter, the flagship turned slowly, its cannons preparing to fire. "Now," the blue-eyed alien's voice urged. "Before it's too late." David slammed the trigger, and the beam fired straight into the core. The ship trembled violently, its green veins flickering. Then a massive explosion tore through its body. The core shattered, sending shockwaves across the sky. The flagship groaned, breaking apart piece by piece. Rebel ships cheered, their voices echoing. In the minds of all. Sarah gripped David's arm, tears in her eyes. We did it. But David's face stayed cold, his voice heavy. The war isn't over yet. As the flagship burned, more council ships appeared on the horizon. Dozens, maybe hundreds, all ready for battle. The blue-eyed alien's voice whispered in their minds. Softer this time. The skies burn, but hope still lives if you can survive this night. And so the fire spread across the stars, humans and rebels side by side, fighting not just for survival, but for freedom. The night sky of a dying world became a battlefield of flames, and the real cost of freedom was only beginning to show. The sky was burning. The wreck of the Council's flagship still glowed like a falling star, breaking apart into the endless dark. But beyond it, more ships poured from the void, their green light spreading like a plague across the stars. The rebels cheered for their small victory, but their voices faltered as the enemy numbers grew. David and Sarah sat inside their battered fighter, sweat dripping down their faces, both breathing hard. Sarah whispered, her voice trembling, "We can't win against all of them." David's jaw tightened. "We don't need to win every battle, we just need to show them we won't bow." The blue-eyed alien's voice entered their minds, calm but heavy. The humans speak truth. The Council feeds on fear. If we break that fear, they lose their chains over us. The rebels around them steadied, their blue eyes glowing brighter, as if hope itself gave them strength. The Council's fleet advanced, their weapons glowing with sick green fire. David gripped the controls, his knuckles white. "If we go down fighting." But before the first volley could strike, the rebel flagship rose behind them, its engines roaring. The older rebel's deep voice filled the air. "For too long we have bent our heads, tonight we rise." The fleet of rebels surged forward, blue beams clashing against green fire. The battle turned into chaos, ships colliding, beams tearing through the black sky. David's craft twisted and spun, Sarah firing at every enemy in range, her cries mixing with the thunder of explosions. One by one, rebel ships fell, but each death bought another chance for their allies. The humans fought with fire in their hearts, their spirit pushing them where others broke. As the fight raged, the blue-eyed alien's voice returned, softer but urgent. The Council's strength is not only in ships, it is in their throne. Their core tower controls their armies. Destroy it, and the fleet loses unity. David narrowed his eyes. "Then we go for the head," Sarah gasped. "That tower is on the planet." "Yes," the alien confirmed. "But strike it, and you break their chains forever." Without hesitation, David pulled the ship downward, breaking through the lines. Enemy fire chased them, but rebel fighters shielded their path, sacrificing themselves to clear the way. Sarah's heart ached as she watched ships explode. "They're dying for us." David's voice was steady. "No, they're dying for freedom." The planet loomed ahead, its broken surface glowing with scars of war. At its center stood the core tower, tall and black, veins of green fire pulsing up its sides. It was alive, humming with power, feeding energy into every council ship. David clenched his jaw. "That's our target." Sarah gripped the controls, her hands steady now. "Then let's end this." The Council's defenses roared to life, cannons firing beams of deadly light. David spun the ship, dodging blast after blast, his body pressed hard against the seat. Sarah fired back, striking the turrets one by one, explosions lighting their path. But the tower loomed closer, larger, more terrifying with every second. The blue-eyed alien's fighter appeared beside them, her voice strong. "Together, strike the heart." Rebel ships followed, diving toward the tower in a last desperate assault. The Council's army rained fire upon them, tearing rebels apart, but the survivors pressed forward. David gritted his teeth, his eyes locked on the pulsing core at the base of the tower. "Sarah!" "Now!" he shouted. Their craft fired its beam, blue light blazing against the black sky. The blue-eyed alien and the rebels joined, their combined fire striking the tower. At first, the shield held, glowing brighter, humming with power, but the human spirit was unyielding. Their fire stronger, their will sharper, the shield cracked, then shattered. The core of the tower screamed, exploding in a storm of green fire. The shockwaves spread across the sky. Every council ship froze, their green light flickering and dying. The fleet broke apart, drifting powerless, their unity gone. The rebels cheered, their blue light shining like stars. Sarah collapsed into her seat. Sobbing with relief, David exhaled hard, whispering, "It's over." But the blue-eyed alien's voice interrupted, soft and heavy. "No, it is not over." "Not yet," David frowned. "What do you mean?" The alien's eyes dimmed. "The council will rise again. Some will survive. They always do. But tonight you gave us more than victory. You gave us memory, a truth that cannot be erased." On the ground, the core tower burned, its ruins glowing like a beacon. Rebels and survivors gathered, chanting in unison. For the first time in generations, they stood without chains. The humans stepped out of their craft, standing before the blue-eyed alien and the rebels. David raised his head high, his voice firm. "We are not tools. We are not cattle. We are human, and we will never break." The rebels bowed their heads, their blue light glowing in respect. The older rebel spoke. "The humans fought where others would run. Your spirit reminded us of what we lost." Sarah's voice shook but carried strength. "Then remember this forever. Freedom is worth any cost." The blue-eyed alien stepped closer, her voice softer. "You changed us, you gave us fire again. Whatever comes next, you will not face it alone." David nodded, his eyes burning with quiet pride. "Then maybe your people still have hope above them." The skies cleared of fire, the broken fleet drifting like ghosts. The world was scarred, but alive. The humans had come as prisoners, but they stood now as symbols. The alien rebels whispered their names like a promise, and in the silence that followed the battle, one truth shone brighter than all. It was not weapons that broke the council. It was not power, not numbers, not fire. It was the human spirit, unyielding, unbroken, unchained.